In this little blue cage is a queen bee. It's actually a mated queen bee, so it's already gone out and mated. So I can basically put this straight into one of my hives and then it will start laying eggs pretty much straight away. As well as the queen, there is also a number of worker bees inside this cage with her. They're basically there to look after the queen. My job for today is to put this cage into the hive which doesn't have a queen, and over the next week the bees will chew through this sugar here. This white stuff is sugar, and the new queen will be released into the hive. Let's give the beehive a new queen. So this is the colony which needs a new queen. I'm going to poke a stick through the little hole in the top, and we're just going to hang the cage in the hive. Now the queen can't get out of the cage yet because there's two plastic things holding the queen in. We want to introduce her slowly, so these bees get used to her smell and hopefully they'll accept her. But in a couple of days' time, I'll come back, open up the plastic caps on the cage, and then the queen will be able to slowly be eaten out through that sugar. So right now I'm standing next to a giant tower of beehive boxes. Now these are all second-hand. They were used by another beekeeper last year. They've had bees living inside them, which means before I put them on my hives this summer, I need to give them a quick clean. This will involve two different stages. Firstly, scraping all the wax and dirt off, and then blowtorching them with a flame. The heat will kill off any diseases that might be inside the hives. You might be wondering, why do you need so many boxes? To give you a quick example, in the summer months, you can have up to like 10 boxes on top of your hive. And because now I've expanded my apiary up to 9 beehives, if each of those colonies has like 6 boxes on, that's 54 of these wooden boxes. So it took me about 3 or 4 hours, but I have all these boxes now clean. All of them have been blowtorched and the wax scraped off. But as you can see, currently these boxes are empty. There's nothing inside them. And before we put these on the beehives, we need to fill them with frames. Now this is an example of what a frame looks like, which hasn't been worked on by bees yet. This is basically just a wooden frame with a piece of foundation beeswax. And then what the bees do is they build their comb off of this. I'll show you here. This is one that has been worked on by bees. This is an old one. Now I only have 3 or 4 of these left, and I'm gonna need a fair few more because in each of these boxes you can fit about 10. So that's about 300 of these that we need. And if it's a really good year for the honey, we're gonna have to use all of these. So where do you get more of these from? You can find all this beekeeping equipment online. There's various different beekeeping suppliers out there. But I like to support some of the people who helped me get into beekeeping in the first place. In particular, there's a guy who lives in Wales. He has a beekeeping business called Gwynn & Griffith, and he sells not only honey and wax, but also all the beekeeping equipment that you would ever need as a beekeeper. So the plan tomorrow morning is to drive over and see him and pick up some more beehive frames.
Hello, my name is Griff Rees. I'm the owner of Gwynn & Griffith. We're a honey company and beekeeping supplies company here in West Wales. We sell honey, we sell bees, but we also sell beekeeping supplies from the farm here right across the whole of the UK.
I've come here today to pick up some new beekeeping equipment. Can we go in and have a look inside the shop?
Yeah, of course. Come with me and I'll show you around. This is your order.
Oh, nice.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, Griff is such a great guy. Seeing his beekeeping business grow is super inspiring, and it feels good to support his business and come and see him again. Anyway, time to go home and build some beehive frames. These are the pieces of wax foundation that go inside the frames. We have all the flat pack frames few different pieces which will all fit together to make all these frames. So we've got the two side walls of the frame, then the top bar, two more supporting pieces of wood, the piece of beeswax foundation, and then a load of nails. It's handy to have a hive tool and also a little hammer to put the frame together. So you break apart this piece of wood off the top bar. We've got the two side bars that we push in. These two pieces of wood slot into the top. And then we take the beeswax foundation and we thread it into the wooden frame. Bend these pieces of metal over, push it down to the bottom, get the wood that we broke apart earlier, put 3 more nails in. Three minutes 36 to make one frame. I've got to do over 200 of these. We're gonna spend about 600 minutes, 10 hours. And once the frame is finished, they go inside the box, like so. And then once this is full, this is ready to put on a beehive. Let's crack on. Now yesterday I spent nearly £600 on beekeeping equipment. And it sounds like a lot, and it really is a lot of money, but it's all an investment and it will all pay back for itself if every single one of these frames is full of honey, which isn't guaranteed. I think lots of beekeepers around the UK mentioned that last year's honey crop wasn't too great. So maybe this year will be the year. And it all depends on many different factors. The weather, the bees' willingness to make you honey. I think quite a lot of luck as well. And this is what a full super looks like. In this one we've got 9 frames, equally spaced apart. This box here is ready to simply pop on top of one of the beehives. The bees can start working on the frames and fill them with honey. Oh, I'm so done with this. It's freezing. The rain is now being blown all the way into my lockup. Everything's wet out the front here. I have made 64 frames, which is a really good start. I'm kind of happy with the progress I've made over the past 5 hours or so. All we've got to hope for now is that the weather improves slightly, because the bees will not be going out and foraging nectar in this weather, which means 0 honey is going to be made. We need some sun, we need some warmth, and everything should be good. We're coming to the end of April now, and this is sort of beginning of prime swarm season. So today I'm going to do my normal weekly inspection on the hives, and also on some of the hives I'm going to do what is called a Demaree split, which is basically a swarm prevention method. I will run through the details of that later, but my van is packed full of boxes and the bees right now are going absolutely crazy. The bees are piling into the hives. I might need to open up some of the entrances to let more bees into the hive, because they're all queuing up waiting to get in. And they're also bringing in loads of pollen. I can see on their legs lots of orange pollen, which I think is from dandelions. There are dandelions everywhere, and if I put my finger inside, there's orange pollen on my finger. I can probably remove this piece of foam and allow the bees to use the whole entrance. They can get in and out quicker now. It does make me very happy to see all the hives with this much activity outside. They're starting to store nectar in the super, which is good. I don't really need to check that. What is important is this bottom box, because this is the hive that I put a new queen in. So we're going to check to see if that new queen is laying eggs. Oh yes, 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 yes. There's eggs and there's brood, which is amazing. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Look at that. loads of baby bees underneath that capping. So this was the cage that we put in a couple of weeks ago. That's now empty. I mean, there's a few bees that have somehow managed to get inside, but the queen has come out of that cage and is now laying eggs in the hive. So the job was done very well. If you look carefully, you'll see in those cells which aren't capped over, little white larvae. Now the capped over comb here is the older brood, and the stuff which isn't capped over is the younger brood that will be capped over soon. There she is in the center of the frame. She is laying loads of eggs. So that was all I needed to check with this hive. The only extra thing I'm going to do with this particular hive is put on another super. And basically by putting on another box, we're giving the bees plenty of space, which will hopefully mean they are less likely to swarm. That particular colony isn't a huge one because they haven't had a queen for a while. So the colony was getting smaller and smaller. But these ones up here are much bigger. And they could be planning on swarming soon, so we may have to do some bits and bobs. Just opened up another hive and we can see loads of fresh nectar in there. When it catches the light nicely, you can see the liquid inside the cells. You can see the queen there, the green spot. That's last year's queen. She's laying eggs, no sign of swarm cells, which means this hive can be closed back up. Oh, okay. Every single frame of this super is just full of bees and fresh comb which is being drawn out, which looks super yellow. We'll pull one of the frames out and see how full they are. Woo. It's not quite full, but it's getting there. This frame has quite a bit of weight to it. If they keep filling it up at this rate, this could be a full super in the next week or so. See, there's a bit of comb that broke off. I might have that for myself. They will definitely need another super. Oh, that box is heavy already. I've never had a box feeling this heavy until like beginning of June, so that's really good. It's madness. They must be on a type of flower which means that they have really yellow wax. It's like, actually it's more orangey. It's like an orange. Now because this hive is looking so strong, I'm going to do what is called a Demaree split. If I can find the queen, there she is. Wow, it was like magic, it just appeared. I'm going to get the queen inside this cage. Queen's inside this little cage. I'm going to double check that there's no swarm cells, and then we can do a Demaree split, which is a really cool method of preventing swarming from happening too soon, but also creating a really strong colony that will hopefully result in a good honey harvest. I think there's like 2,000 cells on a frame like this, so that could be 2,000 bees hatching out very soon. No swarm cells, which is good. So we've got the queen inside this cage. It's really important that she stays safe. And then we're going to take this box here, which is full of all the rest of the colony and all the brood and all the bees, and we're going to place it to one side. Just temporarily. And then we're going to put this brand new box, identical kind of box to that one, only difference is there's nothing in here, and we're going to put that down on the stand like that. All the bees that are flying will continue to come back to this exact point. So firstly, I'm going to grab a frame out of this original box, which has capped over brood. So we've got one of the original frames, and that is going in the middle of this box here. And also in this box, I've got a frame which is empty. There's a little bit of honey in there, which is good because it will give the bees some food. And that frame will go just next door like so. And then I've got a couple more frames which are already drawn out comb that the queen can quickly start to lay her eggs in. And the rest of the box is just full of frames like this. There's nothing in there, just foundation. These are the frames that I made the other day. So the idea is that we're making the bees think that their colony isn't as big as it actually is. So now what we can do is release our queen back into this part of the hive. Whoa, I thought she was going to fly away then. Directly on top will go the queen excluder. So that will keep the queen in that bottom box. And then we can put on the first super, which is very quickly filling up with honey. And then we're actually going to add another super. It's a bit of a long process, but trust me, I did this last year and it worked really well. And then we can grab the original brood box and pop that on top. That smoke always ends up going straight in my face. Basically what we've done is we've separated the colony. The queen is downstairs in the bottom box and the rest of the colony is at the top. The separation of those two supers will basically mean they act as separate colonies. This colony at the top will think that they've just lost the queen. So they will build new queen cells in the top. In 1 week's time, I need to come back and destroy all the queen cells in the top box. If I don't do that, then the colony could swarm. And then, after that, things should be all good. All the brood, all the baby bees that are hatching in this top box will then go down to help the workforce below. All the extra honey will then get stored in this top box too. I hope that makes some kind of sense. The Demaree split is basically a swarm prevention method. It doesn't stop swarming completely, but it helps delay swarming, and sometimes, like last year, it meant that I didn't have any swarms. We're probably going to do the same sort of thing on a couple of the other hives too. I've never had honey this early on in the year. That's amazing. So in this colony, we have seen one of the common problems that you have when you keep bees. And this is a queen which is laying an awful lot of drone brood. As you can see, it's very spotty as well. It's not like a nice clean amount of brood that you've seen on some of the other colonies. There is some worker brood down here, but as you can see, most of it is drone brood. And that can happen if the queen doesn't mate successfully. Now, I know from my previous inspections that this queen very recently was born and then went out and mated. And sometimes it results in a queen which hasn't managed to mate very well. There's a male bee which is making its way out of the comb. These male bees have huge eyes, and I will get a new queen ordered from my bee dealer. Yeah, get this hive nice and healthy again. Yeah, one of the sad truths that I've learned when it comes to beekeeping is that if you want the best for the colony, you sometimes have to sacrifice. I guess that goes for many things in life. You have to give up one thing to make the overall thing better. So I'll need to check this hive in 1 week to remove all the queen cells before I introduce a new queen. I've lost all the number tags for these hives, it's ridiculous.
Having a drone-laying queen is just one of the many things you have to look out for as a beekeeper. There's also pests and diseases that can wipe out your colonies. Bacterial infections such as American and European foulbrood are some of the most detrimental diseases that can result in having to burn your beehives and kill all the bees to stop the spread. More commonly, and within most honeybee colonies, you will see varroa, which are a species of mites that are non-native to the UK, and these parasite on honeybees. If numbers get too high within a colony, the bees can become weak and die, especially over wintertime when the bees are at their most vulnerable. In fact, each autumn after I've harvested the honey, I will treat the bees with a product containing either apitraz or thymol that will kill a large percentage of the mites and lower their levels in the hive before winter. I've learnt that ecosystems function as a whole, and whenever you step in, you will instantly see the consequences. normally in the form of other species making a living out of the one that you are trying to look after. It's a very complex system, but I think it's a good idea to remember that every decision that we make as either beekeepers or gardeners, or anyone really, has an effect on millions of other living things. The bees have been really annoying and they've built all this comb in between the frames. Because I'm using these spacers, I guess they just decided that they weren't going to build these frames out, they were going to just build extra frames in between. Oh, it's such beautiful comb that they've worked really hard to make, but it's not ideal that it's in that particular place. There's fresh honey coming in. Now all this wax that came off the super earlier, this isn't going to go to waste. I'm going to turn this into candles, and that will make some really nice candles. Now let's look at my green hive. Look at that glistening honey. So I've seen a handful of queen cells inside this hive, and they will, if I don't do anything, swarm. So what I'm going to do is make a little split, which will stop the swarming from happening. And it'll also mean that I have an extra beehive. With this extra hive, I can either keep it and build it up and hopefully get a honey harvest from it, or I can then join it back with this one after the swarm impulse has sort of gone away a bit. So I'm going to take a couple of frames out of this 6-frame nuke box, and then we're going to choose a good looking frame to put inside there. This is probably the best frame that I've found. Just going to make sure there's no queen cells on this particular frame. And we're going to pop that in here. Now I'm just going to shake a load of bees into that box. Now most of these bees will come flying back to this original hive, so it doesn't matter that I'm shaking these all out. That should be enough. I've got bees all over my feet. Bees, I don't want them to crawl up my trousers, you see. So lastly, inside this box, we're going to put the queen. So we're taking the queen away from the original hive. And she's in there. And we'll close that up. Now we're going to move this over here. So this colony here has the original queen. That hive over there, over the next 8 days, will try to raise a new queen. And then I can either step in at that point, get rid of all the queen cells and put my own queen, or I can just let them raise a new queen. And then we have 2 colonies. So what we've done is we've split the hives up and they will now no longer swarm. This hive here is the one that I always most look forward to checking. They're the calmest bees that I have. They're always so chill. I don't think I've ever been stung by this colony. Oh, it's loaded. Wow, it's full. Oh, there's queen cells in here though. Yep, there's a charged queen cell with an egg and royal jelly inside. So we're gonna have to do something here. Don't know what. Oh, there's a nut. Oh no. What I can see here are capped over queen cells, which basically means that they will swarm any moment now. It could have been yesterday, we might be too late, but it looks like there's a lot of bees still in here. There's one on the corner there. There's another one there. And on the other side, there's one there. If we find the queen, then we are incredibly lucky that it hasn't swarmed yet. Basically, on day 8, which is 8 days after the queen lays the egg, the queen cells are capped over, and it means that the old queen is then free to fly away. No way, she's still there. She's still there. I'm gonna catch her. So as before, we've got a frame full of brood, which we'll put in this downstairs box along with the queen. Now I've heard that the Demaree split doesn't always work to stop swarming if they've already made swarm cells. Like, it's a good preventative method, but apparently it doesn't always stop swarming completely, so we might have to keep an eye on this hive. So this sort of explains why I need to check my bee colonies weekly, because if I didn't come down for another couple of days, these bees would have flown away, or half of them would have flown away and started their own colony. You've got to be so careful that you don't miss any queen cells, because you miss one and it can result in swarming. I do really love the look of queen cells, and it's quite amazing. If I wanted to increase the amount of colonies I have, if I wanted loads more, I could take every single one of these queen cells and make a new colony of bees from it. But I don't really want to do that, which is why I'm taking them down. I've still got 2 more hives to check, but I think my camera is running out of battery, so that will be the filming done for today. I'm happy with today's beekeeping. I think everything's under control. I can never be sure though. I need to come down here with my grass trimmers next week. See you bees, have a good one. I can't believe how much honey they're finding right now. My favourite part of the day, eating the honey scrapings. That is so good. The wax is not so easy to chew up. I'm not sure the bees liked me doing that. So today I am going through all the colonies, but the ones that I'm going to show you are the hives which I did that Demaree split on recently. I can't quite believe this. Last week when I did the split, I added on a fresh super with nothing on it, nothing at all, just the foundation. And look what they've done. They have built the comb out and stored it with honey. That's in 1 week they've done all that. That's ridiculous. If you go for a walk anywhere, you will see so many flowers. In the parks, all the horse chestnut is flowering, and in the fields there's loads of dandelion. And also at this time of year is when brassica plants flower. If you've ever seen those fields which are just like a sea of yellow, that is oilseed rape. And the farmers plant that to end up with the canola oil or rapeseed oil. There's a lot of weight there now. Not great for the back. There's quite a lot of honey in there, but the thing which we really need to check is what is going on in this top box. Because this top box should have lots of queen cells in, which we need to remove. That looks like a drone brood, but that one is an emergency queen cell that they've built in response to me moving the boxes. So we're going to take that apart. This hive is going to be absolutely loaded come early June. It's really white. Last week it was more yellow. Now it's looking really white. But in here they've just started to store fresh nectar. And it looks like they've done the same in that last frame. So this colony is all good. A couple of queen cells, but we took them down. They shouldn't swarm anytime soon because of that fresh box down there. And pop this frame back in and leave them to it. I'm going to do that same check on all the other hives. Gets a little bit repetitive, but it's got to be done. So the Demaree split that I did last week, on most of the hives it was a preemptive split, which means they hadn't began to build queen cells. I was splitting up the hive before they decided to build queen cells and swarm. But this hive here, they already had queen cells, I did a Demaree split, but they have already built more queen cells in this bottom box, which means they're basically trying to swarm again, even though I've split them up. I have heard from other beekeepers that this can happen, so the procedure now is going to be to take the queen away from this box, put it in a nuke. Luckily I've got that little blue box next door. So we will split them up so they definitely won't swarm. And then what I probably will do is join them together again. So here you can see what they've done. Swarm cell, swarm cell, swarm cell, swarm cell. In 1 week I can come back, remove all the queen cells, the extra queen cells that they've made because their queen is missing, and then merge this queen with this colony again. We'll do that with a piece of newspaper. Pretty much everything is going to plan. Nothing too bad happening. A few colonies still trying to swarm, but I think I have sorted that out by splitting them up. Huge amounts of honey coming in, and just like last week, we've got a little snack. Whoa, that was the sugar that I needed. Things are currently looking really good, but I will, as always, keep you updated with how the season progresses. Oh, fingers are so sticky. In the next episode, we'll be harvesting the spring honey, and we got so much more honey this spring than I expected, so stay tuned to see that. Anyway, I'll see you soon.